Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the New England Aquarium. My name is Matt, and I work with our penguin colony here, and today is a very special day. We are celebrating one of our birds' 30th hatch day, which is an amazing milestone, and we're going to talk a little bit about that bird and some of the care they receive here at the aquarium. So the bird I'm talking about is standing right here in front of us. His name is Lambert, and he has a lovely 30th hatch day cake, which I will put right here for him. So Lambert was born right here at the aquarium 30 years ago, so April 20th, 1992, and he's been living here his whole life as an ambassador for this species. You can identify him, you can see he has that green bracelet on his left wing, and so that tells us not only that this is Lambert, but because it's on his left wing, it tells us that he is a male as well. And his name comes from a small fishing town in Africa called Lamberts Bay, and you can actually find African penguins here kind of in their natural habitat swimming around. And so Lambert here, sorry Lambert, let me do this a little bit. He's a little bit of a home buddy. He definitely likes to spend a lot of his time on land. Part of the work we do with him was getting him to jump into the water more on his own and attend feeds, which is something we'll talk about. But he does spend a lot of time right here on Island 3 in his territory with his mate Dyer. So she's the other penguin who's just poking her head out now to say hello. She has that green and yellow bracelet on her right wing. And these guys have been together since about 2015, so they're a very good couple. Elsewhere in this exhibit, Lambert has two younger siblings, so roast beef and plum pudding. And he joins a pretty elite group of 30-year-old penguins. So with him joining them, there's going to be 5 of them total, and then we'll have the 6th one turning 30 this November. That really is an amazing milestone when you consider that penguins in their natural habitats typically will only live till about 10 to 15 years. And so Lambert has essentially doubled that. So really amazing, we're super happy for him. But being 30 has its challenges. 30 is definitely considered old in the penguin world. And just like with us, people and other animals, as we get older, we run into what I'll call old age problems. And Lambert is no different. And so we'll talk about a little bit of the specialized care he receives being a 30-year-old bird. So the first thing we're going to talk about is his eyes. Now, penguin eyes are pretty similar to people's. They have actually an extra lens, which makes things a little different, but overall they're pretty similar to what we would experience. And a couple years ago, Lambert here, we actually noticed that he was developing cataracts in both of his eyes, which was ultimately affecting his vision and making it hard for him to be a penguin. And so in 2019, Lambert here underwent a double cataract surgery, which was successful. But he's been dealing with just general discomfort following that surgery for a little bit now, and so a lot of the work we've been doing with him involves giving him daily eye drops for comfort. We also work with him behaviorally to get him used to us handling him, because we are going to be picking him up every single day to give him eye drops, and so we had to work with him behaviorally to make sure he would tolerate that for an extended period of time. And we also worked with him, like I mentioned, working with him to help him jump in the water and attend feeds more, since he was glued to this island a lot sometimes, and this was pretty important as our feeding philosophy evolved. And so we and now he's doing much better. Before he spent a lot of time on Island 3 here, but he now jumps into the water readily, attends feeds, muscle by here, crashing the party here. But it's been a lot of success stories with him, and how far he's come, it's been a lot, and we're about to see some territorial Christian here. Good job, Lambert. So defending his territory here, and so his vision probably isn't what it once was, but that hasn't stopped him from being a penguin and thriving here at the aquarium. And so the next thing I want to talk about with Lambert is his molt. And so molting is something that every single bird goes through, from hummingbirds to emus and everything in between. And most birds will molt once or twice a year, with penguins usually completing this process once annually. And so basically a molt is a shedding of their feathers and then replacing them with new ones. And this is pretty important because their feathers do 2 important jobs for them. Number 1, it helps to keep them warm. It also helps to keep them dry. And so both of those things are important when you're swimming in 55-degree water. And so that regular molt is key for proper welfare. And so as birds age, though, we sometimes can see their natural rhythm, their natural molting cycle can sometimes get thrown off, and this can lead to These birds sometimes delaying their molt, so sometimes they'll molt, every 1.5 years, or sometimes skipping them altogether. And so this can be problematic if they're skipping molts and they have these bare patches of exposed skin. When they jump in the water, it's going to be extremely cold for them, and they run the risk of hypothermia. And so Lambert here was kind of going through something similar to that. We had noticed he was a little past his expected molt date. He had developed a couple bare patches that we were monitoring. And so in speaking with our animal health department, one of the things that we talked about and came to the conclusion that we wanted to try was a melatonin implant. And these have proven to be effective in promoting a healthy molt, but timing is very important. So we want to make sure that we can give him that implant before his expected molt window. If you do it too late or in the middle of the window, you might not always get the same effectiveness. And so basically this implant looks like a very tiny pill, and it's inserted subcutaneously, so right under their skin, kind of along their back between their shoulders. And so last year, when we kind of were monitoring Lambert's molt status, we noticed that this was happening. So in June, we were able to give him this implant with the help of our animal health department. And by August, he was molting. So it was a success, and it was something we'll kind of look to use for other birds in our colony as well. And so the last part of Lambert's specialized care that I want to talk a little bit about are his feet. So penguins in particular are susceptible to foot issues taking the form of calluses or lesions, and this can potentially progress to a disease called bumblefoot. Now, bumblefoot can be serious. It starts as a very localized infection in their feet, but if left untreated or unchecked, this can actually become a systemic issue. It can infect other tissues, their bones, and it can cause even death. So it's a very important thing that we monitor feet. And this isn't something necessarily unique to Lambert himself. We do foot checks for our entire colony, but given his advanced age and the fact that he does spend a lot of time standing, we do scrutinize even minor changes that we see with him. And so the primary risk factors for bumblefoot are excessive standing, trauma, so if they get pecked in the foot, sometimes that can be an issue. Overweight birds sometimes run into issues. As well as overgrown toenails can even cause them to stand in awkward angles, which can put unneeded pressure on their feet. So it's something, like I said, every bird gets checked, but there's more advanced age birds we're extra sure to check everything just because we know they're potentially at more risk to developing an infection. So it probably sounds like Lambert's gone through a lot, and he has, but he still thrives here at the New England Aquarium. As you can see, he has his mate Dyer right here. He's coming here to bite his cake finally, which you might be a little scared of, but he has his mate Dyer. He defends his territory, as you can see. He vocalizes with other birds, engages in courtship and mating behavior, and generally just leads a pretty normal penguin life, all things said. So he's a lot of fun to work with. He's challenging. We've learned a lot from him, and he's a really, really great penguin.
What's the cake made out of?
So the cake, Dyer. So the cake is basically food-colored ice with some fish frozen in there, which Dyer really wants, but this is more of a defensive, not so much hungry, defending her cake here. Yeah. And so like I had mentioned, Lambert is 30. We're super excited to be celebrating that milestone, and it truly is a testament to the amazing care that not only our penguin team is able to give them, but also our vols, our interns, but most importantly, our animal health department. They do a lot of great work, and I'm gonna shout them out right now. They're really is what makes everything function. We couldn't provide the care we provide without them. And so we have 3 vets on our animal health department, as well as numerous biologists, technicians, interns, externs, and they really do so much for us, from prescribing meds. They help us make treatment plans for specific birds. They perform exams on these birds who normally don't want to be handled, which is always fun. And they do this all while supporting the rest of the animals here too. So they deal with the scheduling mess, dealing with harbor seals, then penguins, then fish, then stingrays. So they really do an amazing job, and they allow us to succeed as well. And so yes, thank you HD, you guys are amazing, we love you. And so in honor of Lambert's Hatch Day, I challenge you all as a gift to Lambert today. Penguins across the board, but African penguins especially, aren't doing so well. A lot of them are dealing with population growth. It can be something as simple as reusable water bottle, taking more showers, taking less baths, using public transport. Just SAFE program, which is Saving Animals from Extinction, run through AZA. And they do all sorts of programs like that. Penguins, African penguins, being a part of an endangered species, they follow what we call a species survival plan. And so basically that means we match these penguins up very carefully so that we can have a genetically diverse population. And so I don't believe Lambert and Dyer here are a good match, but other penguins, when we test their genetics and we find they're a good match, we do our best to try and pair them up so that they can lay a chick that'll be healthy and kind of help support penguin populations overall, and just overall raise awareness for these guys since they are in a fair bit of danger. So with that, I'll say happy Hatch Day to Lambert once again. Here's to hoping for many more over the years, and I'd love to answer some questions you guys have.
How many penguins do we have?
So right now we have 56 total penguins and 15 rock hoppers. And that number has been fluctuating a little bit the past couple of weeks and months as we participate in transports. So we send penguins out to other institutions to fulfill, like we just talked about, their species survival plan. So sometimes they're like, hey, we need a specific female, and if we have that and we're able to provide that to help the plan, we'll send that bird off. So always fluctuating. 50 is probably when we'll end up sitting a little bit. We have a couple more birds to send out still, but this is typically our... Just say goodbye. Well, it was a pleasure talking to you all. I hope you learned something more about penguins and Mr. Lambert, and I encourage you all to come visit if you're in the area. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.